Assalamu alaikum. This is Khalida Firdaus, Assistant Professor in English, Bhawal Government College, Gazipur. Welcome to the online class. This class is for the students of Honours First Year of Department of English, Bhawal Government College, Gazipur. How are you? I hope all of you are fine. I'm also okay. Today's class will be held on The Patriot, one of the most important poem of your textbook, Introduction to Poetry, The Patriot, written by Robert Browning, one of the major Victorian poets. Okay, let's know something about this poet. Robert Browning, he was born in May 7, 1812 at Walworth, London, United Kingdom. He died in December 12, 1889 at Venice in Italy. His major poems are My Last Duchess, Porphyria's Lover, and more others. His major plays are The Pied Piper of Hamelin, Pippa Passes, Columbus' Birthday, etc. He was one of the greatest Victorian poets. He is famous for his mastery of dramatic monologue. Now, come to the main features of his poetry. Robert Browning's poems are written using dramatic monologue. That means his writing were the representation of dramatic monologue. His poems are known for their irony, characterization, dark humor, social commentary, historical settings, and challenging vocabulary and syntax. His poems are full of optimism. That means Robert Browning was an optimistic poet. Students, now have a look on the poem and its analysis. The Patriot, first stanza. It was roses, and roses all the way, with myrtle mixed in my path like mad. The house roofs seemed to heave and sway, the church spires flamed, such flags they had, a year ago on this very day. This first stanza is the reminiscence of the patriot's past experience, which was happened one year before on this very day. This day, the patriot recalled that all the paths was full of roses and with other things to receive him. He was grandly received by his countrymen. The house roofs seemed to be loaded, to be overcrowded by the curious people. The church spires flamed for showing honor to him. A year ago, on this very day, the people were very much interested to him. The patriot were were greatly welcomed by the countrymen. Stanza 2. The air broke into a mist with bells. The old walls rocked with the crowd and cries. Had I said, "Good folk, mere noise repels, but give me your son from yonder skies," they had answered, "And afterwards what else?" Here, the patriot is narrating us what were doing his countrymen to satisfy him 1 year ago. It was like if he would ask anything to his countrymen, they were ready to give him so. And they asked him what he wanted more. So, the first two stanzas represented here the honor, the respect of the countrymen to the patriot. Third stanza is the representation of another scene, very opposite scene of the first two stanzas. Alack, it was I who lived at the sun to give it my loving friends to keep. Not man could do have I left undone, and you see my harvest, what I reap this very day, now a year is run. Third stanza of the poem is the speaker's representation of the treatment of his countrymen towards him. He draws with a subtle reference to the Greek mythological tale of Icarus and Daedalus. Like Icarus, he was overambitious and lived at the sun for the betterment of his countrymen. He was ready to do everything for the betterment of his countrymen. He wanted to satisfy his countrymen all the time. He did everything a man can do, but the scene changes only within a year. He is now thinking of his activities, his misdeeds within a year, what he did for his countrymen and what was the harvest of his activities. So this stanza is the beginning of his disappointment. Fourth stanza. There is nobody on the housetops now, just a palsied few at the window seat. For the best of the sight is all alone at the shambles gate, or better yet, by the scaffold's very foot, I trow. This stanza is the strongly opposite of first stanza. The speaker returns to the present and talks about what he sees. He describes the present setting and contrasts it with on the same day a year ago. Now he has been convicted and is being led to the path of death. The situation is against the situation of 1 year ago. Now the place is empty, nobody is there to cheer him up, but old and paralyzed people. It is because all are gathered now in the Shambhal's gate to see him die. The people want to be what the action is. Stanza 5. I go in the rain and more than knees, a rope covers my wrist behind, and I think by the feel of my forehead bleeds, for the fling over the mind stones at me for my years' misdeeds. This stanza is the continuation of the previous 1 year and further describes the speaker's humiliation at the hand of the people. It is raining when he is going to scaffold. His hands are tied behind by a tight rope. It was so tight that it cuts his wrists. The poet now thinks that his forehead is bleeding. He can feel his pain. He also tells us that people were very much interested to throw stones at the writer, at the poet, at the speaker, who is a patriot. The people were aware of his misdeeds. He doesn't seem to be angry to the people for throwing stones. He never blamed them, as he knows they misunderstood him. He was not angry against the people, but merciful to the people, as he loved his countrymen. Sixth stanza. Thus I entered, and thus I go. In triumphs people have dropped down dead. Paid by the world, what dost thou owe me? God might question. Now instead tis God shall repay. I am safer so. In the last stanza, the poet says us in the voice of the patriot that he was not afraid of his death at all. So he entered in the scaffold and he went to the scaffold. People were in triumph. People were enjoying this action. They were interested to see him dead. Here in the last stanza, the poet shows his vision of optimism by the sentence, paid by the world, what dost thou owe me? That means God is asking the patriot, what does he want from God? And he answered, God shall repay. 'Tis God shall repay, I am safer so. That means the patriot wanted to be rewarded by the God, not by his countrymen, because he believed that God is the best judge. So the poem ended with the optimistic idea, optimistic vision of the poet. The poet was welcomed by his countrymen 1 year ago, and on this very day, 1 year after, he was treated with humiliation by his countrymen. but still he is optimistic for his action. What is the theme of the poem? The main theme of the poem is the patriot is majorly based on the theme of rising and falling of fortune. The narrator, the patriot, is welcomed with feverish joy and pots of roses in the first 2 stanzas by the townspeople. But by the end of the poem, we see that those same people have humiliated and executed him within a year. That means nobody can be judged properly in the world and the human being of the world. God is the best judge. He is the best judge. The poem shows strong belief of God of the poet. It also shows his optimistic ideas. Students, this is all for today. See you again very soon. Stay well, stay at home, stay safe. Thank you.